How are you guys today? It is such a beautiful day for me, and I thought I would hop on here today and just give you guys a little bit more of a breakdown as to why we feel like we're constantly eating, or why we feel like we just can't stop thinking about food. So this is a bit of a series. I'm building on it every week, just so that you guys can get a bit of an understanding of why things are the way they are. And today I'm going to give you a really cool tool at the end to just really help you move forward. So let's get started. If you guys remember, I'm coming back to my drawings. Let me just get the right page. Alrighty. So if you guys remember, we were talking about, I have little stickies on here. Get that off. You guys remember I was talking about the binge guilt cycle and how we are stuck in this loop of overeating, and how the whole loop is our habits, not just the binge eating. So today what we're going to be focusing on is a little bit further into why we overeat. And if you remember from last week, we talked about the reasons why we eat, and these are mostly out of hunger, emotions, and out of habit. I don't know why I can't get the camera right. Just excuse me today. However, if you are hopping on, hi guys, just wave, say hello. Let me know how you are feeling about overeating, and whether you are in that space where you're either constantly overeating or thinking of food. So overeating, hashtag overeating, or hashtag thinking. That way I understand where to help you guys going forward. Today, however, we're just going to be talking a little bit further about why we are eating out of habits, out of hunger, and why out of emotions. And last week, the reason why those three triggers come up is because it's actually caused by an urge. So the urge is hashtag overeating. Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. So the urge comes on, and you guys probably know this already. An urge can be either a feeling, a thought, or sensations in the mouth. Like, you know, when I was struggling with heavy during my binge eating days, I could like taste like certain things in my mouth. My throat would close up, and I'd have these overbearing food thoughts. So I had like quite an accelerated urge, but sometimes it can be extremely subtle, and it's just this real uncomfortable feeling in the body. And today we're really just going to be talking about how we can start rewiring or understanding why that is, and where that urge comes from. Now, the urge I am explained to many of my clients as the food zombie brain. And the food zombie brain is called the hypothalamus. So I know it's a big word, but don't worry. For short, we just say AKA food zombie brain. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. This brain is our very, very primitive brain. It actually is like a little child. It stomps its feet when it doesn't get what it wants. And the reason for this is because this brain is really all about our survival. So it looks after things like our sleep, our hunger hormones, insulin, ghrelin, leptin is all secreted by this hormone. So insulin regulates food when it comes into the body. Leptin is our fullness hormone, and ghrelin is the hormone that we secrete, that our body secretes when we are hungry. So now you can understand, when we have put ourselves through hunger, for example, how this urge will start coming up through the food zombie brain, because its main function is to survive. And over the years, we have kind of ignored those signals, those primal instincts of just eating regularly, also just understanding why we have certain emotions, and also like how we form certain habits around things. So our brains want to make things simple, and the way we, hi Melanie, the way we do that is by forming little loops. And that is why, sorry, I put this on the floor. And that is why we find ourselves in loops like this, because our brains work in little circuits. And so when we are in a space where we are triggered in either one of these spaces, the loop says, well, I know what's going to solve this, and that is that we are needing to eat. So if that makes sense, give me a hell yeah, give me hearts, because I would love for you guys to just really start understanding how we rewire this brain of ours, and how we just understanding why we are the way we are. So now the hypothalamus, as I said, it's actually the hypothalamus really controls our non-thinking mind. And often that's why my clients and people, when I speak to them, they feel like they're actually switched off, or they are possessed when it comes to food. And it's because we have ingrained this behavior pattern, this loop of going around and around in circles so much that it's an automatic response. Does that make sense? So when I pick up this mouse, right, I don't have to think about it at all, about the muscles that I use. There's so many muscles in my arm that makes that movement go. I don't have to think about any of the movements. It just happens automatically. All I have to think about is picking it up. Now, the same with being in this binge guilt cycle. We are in this loop, and we automatically, when one of those hunger habits or emotion comes up, we just basically automatically react, and before you know it, you face planted into a bag of chips, right? And it's like, where did this come from? And even though sometimes you're rational and you can think about it, and you're like, oh, stop doing that, you keep going, you actually go faster, and that's your hypothalamus like overriding, or like it's like perceived that we overrides what we're doing, because it kind of tells us what we need to hear at the time. And if we catch ourselves in a binge, it's like, oh, well, we've already started, we might as well finish this, right? Who's had that? Okay. So even though you deeply want to stop, you just can't, because you're in that moment, and the loop is to complete the binge. So that is where we are, and that is how we get there. And so I wanted today to really start helping you understand the hypothalamus a little bit better. Thank you for the love hearts. So give me a woot or just a hell yeah if you're on the same page. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments so that I can help you out, because I really want you to start understanding this, and I want you to take this information and start working with it so that you can start healing your overeating brain. And working with the food zombie brain is the best thing ever. We're never going to get rid of this brain, guys, because it's part of us. It's not like you can go for an operation and have it like cut out, okay? Because we won't survive without it. Okay, that's the one part of the brain that governs almost anything that's subconscious, is governed by the hypothalamus. So really understanding that we need to start working with it, understand it, and moving forward, rewiring some of the loops that we have created. And that is where my work with my clients lie, is in understanding, identifying those loops, and seeing in the underlying triggers and beliefs that have formed that, and severing that out, and then we create a new loop, instead of doing the same thing over and over again. And you looking for a new diet, and you standing on the scale every day, and you being in a space where you berate yourself and feeling guilty every day, is just you being in that loop. You thinking you're trying something new, but I've got news for you, honey. You're doing the same thing that you've always been doing. You're going round and round in that little circle. And the sooner we start, that's harsh, but it was a harsh reality for me to understand that all these things I was doing is still doing the same bloody thing, just putting a new coating over it. Keto, cleanse, diet pills, injections. It was all just putting a new little shiny little label on it, but it was not it. I was still stuck in that loop. So hypothalamus sits here like very primitive part of our brains. And basically what I'm going to teach you today is just to understand how it relates to the rest of our brain. So here we have the hypothalamus. It sits in its own little corner. It governs all these things, especially hunger. And this is why it will stomp its feet when it feels like it hasn't been heard when it comes to food, because it wants to survive. So if we are in the space where we allow ourselves to get hungry, you know, it doesn't matter if it's today or tomorrow, that can spill over into the next couple of days. You might not realize what happens right now, and it's not an immediate effect, but a binge can actually happen 4 days after the fact that you were hungry, 4 days after the fact that you did not look after yourself. That the urge will be there, it will start picking up, and it will get louder and louder and louder, and you will actually binge 4 days later without realizing why you're actually doing this. What the hell? Like, there's nothing going on right now. Why is this happening? And it's because like you were triggered a couple of days ago, and that urge has been building and building and building. So the hypothalamus is the one that gives us that urge, the food zombie brain. And what we want to start doing is start noticing that this part of the brain is not in charge of our actual action brain. So if we had to divide the two in the camps, the hypothalamus is the subconscious. It's got nothing to do with the physical world. We think it's physical because we think it's like it creates such urges in ourselves that it feels physical. However, it does not have the control to pick up anything. So it does not have the control to make us eat, if that makes sense. It does not make us faceplant into that bag of chips. It nags and nags and nags until the body goes, okay, I'm triggered, and there it goes. And it's almost like, I'll just do this because then I can actually shut this brain up. And that's basically that reaction from the hypothalamus. So in order for us to start working with this hypothalamus, and in order for us to rewire some of the loops that are happening in the mind, is we need to be a little bit more conscious of when this urge is actually happening. And when I work with my clients, I actually help them to understand and feel what their urge feels like, and it's way before it comes to food like thoughts. Often, you know, it's like very, very interesting to understand how that urge actually feels. And when they're like, oh my gosh, is that's how I usually feel. I didn't realize that that's what's actually driving me. So it's very interesting. It's different for everyone. And we discover that in our journey together in the Food Freedom Program. However, in saying that, it's really about understanding when we get that urge, how we can not react to that urge. And I'm not saying fighting the urge. If you fight the urge, eventually you are going to give in. If you restrict the urge, eventually you're going to give in. So there's ways to work with this urge. And the first step is just to understand that this urge is not in the physical. You don't have to act on it. Now, I'm sure most of you are saying, well, what the hell, Stel? Like, that makes no sense because I lose control and like my brain switches off. And that's absolutely true, you know? So it's just like, how do we do this then? And the way I'm gonna explain that is basically just understanding that there is a gap, and usually through my stop method, I actually help people or my clients understand how to create that distance between the urge and the actual reaction. But for today, what I thought I'd do is I'll actually give you a little bit of a tool that I like to use to start balancing one of the energy centers that's associated with the hypothalamus. Because if we are in this urge mode, it means that we are very overactive in the third eye chakra that sits here in the brow space. So when you do feel that urge coming along, what I'd love for you to do is actually just place your hand here and just go, okay, yeah, I see what's going on. You can even just rub it. And then I'm gonna just show you a little technique to start balancing and easing the hypothalamus and just easing this part of the face or this part of the brain to help calm it down. So I'm not saying that this is something that you can do when you feel an urge. You can absolutely do this when you feel an urge, but even if you've already binged, this is something that's really cool that you can do to really just calm down that energy space of the hypothalamus, because even after the fact, we can do certain things to help us understand the urge and also help us not react to it next time. And an urge, just so we're clear, is not just for binging. If you are finding yourself overeating or constantly emotionally eating, then that is also driven by an urge. Does that make sense? You don't have to binge. If you find yourself eating peanut butter out of the jar every day, that is driven by an urge. You might not binge, you know, but you still have that habit of eating that peanut butter out of the jar. So like, again, hashtag peanut butter addicts in the comments if this was ever you, because that was me for a very long time. Okay, so the tool I'm going to give you to start help balancing this hypothalamus is called alternate nostril breathing, or Nadi Shodhana in the yoga world. So we're going to take our middle finger and our ring finger or index finger, place it on the space here between the brow. And then we're going to take your right hand, by the way. We're going to take, use our right finger, our right thumb, block the right nostril, and we're going to inhale through the left nostril. Hold at the top for 3, 2, 1. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left nostril. Now use your ring finger, the left side, to block the left side. Open the right nostril. Exhale. Inhale into the right nostril. Hold 3, 2, 1. Close. Open the left nostril. Exhale. Inhale left. Hold for 3, 2, 1. Open the right. Exhale right. Inhale right. Hold for 3, 2, 1. Open left. Exhale left. Inhale left. Hold for 3, 2, 1. Exhale right. Last one. Inhale right. Hold for 3, 2, 1. Exhale left. And slowly just bring your hands down towards your body, closing down the eyes. Just notice the change in the temperament. This breath practice is there to help balance the left and the right brain hemispheres. So by even just doing this breath practice, you are able to start calming down the nervous system, and you are starting to think a little bit more rationally, which means the hypothalamus is slowing down in the thoughts and the urges. So hopefully that was helpful.